Welcome to the Mad Painter Show. So this just came to me because I realized it is spooky season. One of my favorite, strangely, one of my favorite seasons, OMG. Okay, so today's topic is don't be afraid of the dark, because do you know why? Life is preparing you for what you've been asking for. So think of it. I have two examples, right? Think of it. When you were a child, you went through all of these changes. One of the main change, is called the change of maturity. When your body goes through all of these hormonal changes and so forth and so on. And as you're going through these changes, you're like, WTF. But then when you get past those changes, it's kind of like, oh, okay. That's what being in the dark is about. It is about transitioning, evolution, and evolving and getting to a place of where we need to be from where we have came from. Sorry, it's kind of early. I'm like on my third cup of coffee and I'm thinking like, yes. So, okay. So anywho, with spooky season being here, so many of us think, so many creepy things happening in the dark. It's dark, it's so scary. And do you know a lot of that is just part of our imagination? But then when we get to the reality of the darkness is such a beautiful and amazing thing. Think of us being in the womb. That is my second example. Think about us being in the womb. Think about seeds. See, all of these things are grown in darkness where it can't be touched, where it can't be seen, where it's in a place somewhat slightly undisturbed, and hopefully in a healthy environment, which will help it to be stronger and so forth and so on. But that's another conversation. But anywho, forgive the noise in the background if you hear it. But instead of looking at the darkness and the unsurety of things as something like, oh my gosh, it's spooky. Now let's look at it with, what word am I looking for? Excitement. Expectation. We have planted these seeds and now we are in expectation of this change to move forward, to do better, to grow and do some amazing things. Because why? We have asked for, we've been working on our best self, right? And in the process of working on that best self, we have been asking questions. We have been asking to receive things. We have been asking to see things. So in the process of this asking, receiving, knocking, and what is that other one? Seeking and knocking. In that process, you are being positioned to be able to receive what it is that you're asking for. So here we're at one place and we're asking for something, and even looking at maturity and growing up. We're asking for something. We want to be in this place. We want to have this, and thinking from a child's mind, when I grow up, I want to have a family and work a job and have all this money and this, that, and the other. You can't do that 5 years old. So you have to get to a place where you are able to do those things, and your body has to go through changes. Your mind has to go through changes. You have to go through environmental changes and to be able to experience different things, different people. So all of these areas of unknown are actually areas that are preparing us for where we need to be, for where we are going. Because we have to be strong enough to make these, it's in order to get to where we're going. We have to be strong, we have to have the vision. And in another thing, even though we are in these darknesses, because one thing, I have to tell you guys what I've been learning. So one thing I have been learning, in the midst of these storms, because a lot of times it can be pretty dark in a storm. In the midst of these storms, when you're not sure how strong the winds are going to be, how much rain is going to be, how this storm is going to happen, because the weather people can tell you whatever, but that doesn't mean poop stank. You understand what I'm saying? So in the midst of these storms, there are all these things going on, and let's just say you're going from one place to another while this storm is happening. Because that's really what we're doing in the midst of all these different changes. We're in life going from point A to point Z, point 5 or whatever. So in that, you're going through all these different things. And what I've been paying attention to, it's very beneficial to focus more on the abundance of things than the lack of things. And in saying that, in consideration of the storm, instead of focusing on how bad the storm is, on how much the storm is tearing up things, how much damage, how much wrong is going on with the storm. Now let's look at what's actually in your benefit while the storm is happening. And also reflect on what it is that you've been asking for. Because we get to points in our life where we get so comfortable and we kind of get a bit lackadaisical, and sometimes we need a little push. And it'll be times where we're looking at that storm and know we need to go from point A to point B, and because we got to go to B before we get to Z, right? So in order for us to get to these points, you don't want to be looking out the window and like, oh my God, that storm is going to take me away and I'm not going to be able to make it to my destination. And that's looking at this situation from lack. So storms happen. Stuff happens. And we want to be able to flush the toilet and keep it moving. We want to be able to put on our storm gear, our weather boots. I don't care for umbrellas, but if you do, get your umbrella. But you want to be able to put your storm gear on and look at this storm like, all right, we got to go ahead and face it, because we have to get to point B. Because even though we're looking at point Z and focusing on Z, and still we got to get to these other points, and it's progress, and it's being willing to endure and go through these progress. Being willing and willing to endure these progresses, these processes, because it's something that you can do. So what I mentioned to on my Instagram, people, which I'm going to mention to you, just in case, Mad Painter 1204 2Ds in the Mad, and follow us and subscribe and like, because I forget that part. But like I mentioned to them, when we were kids, we used to run like a little bit to race each other. And it wasn't very far. You could almost throw a rock to where the destination of where we were running to when we were kids. But right now, remember, we were talking about the maturity and the not being afraid of the dark. So in honor of Nipsey Hussle, this is a marathon we are running. It's not something, we may not be able to see the goal, but we know that the goal is there. And the purpose is to be able to endure this marathon and to keep going. And I learned from a woman who was like 50, 60 years old, and she was like doing this Olympic stuff. She told me a while ago, she was like, once you start running and you continuously running at this pace, you'll find yourself running out of breath. But once you realize you have to push past that point, you'll get a first win. Then you'll get a second win. Then you'll get a third win. It was like, yo, I went past that second win, but it's more wins after that. So it's like being able to tap into those wins is in a way being able to tap into that unpotential, I apologize. Not the unpotential, but that unlimited potential, because that's we're in a place where we're wanting to tap into that unlimited potential, because that's something that we have within us. So it's a nurturing that every day. And if we are constantly looking at the lack, the darkness on that side, then we'll never reach that unlimited potential. But if we're accepting and embracing the darkness and recognizing its purpose, and to not be afraid of that, honey, we are embracing our change, we are embracing our growth, and we are in a place to tap into that unlimited potential. So, we there, right? So don't be afraid of the dark, because the dark is what's putting us in position. It's working that stuff. We all in a place of manifestation and all that. Do you think manifestation happens? all these people out here having sex, and a lot of times, I mean, some of that sex is happening in the light time, and some of it's happening in the dark. But the manifestation of that seed, when that gets to happening, that baby, the manifestation of that baby is happening in the darkness. So, baby, whatever it is that you're here to bring to earth, bring to life on this earth, do it. Let's get on it. Endure this marathon, and in the way of doing how you go about doing so is not being afraid of the dark. We can't be afraid of it. It's a beautiful thing. So enjoy your spooky season. I'm gonna get finished drinking my coffee and get ready to go to work. I have a love for you guys. Have a great and amazing day. See you soon.